Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Show. Now the official post-game show, the Overreaction post-game show on the Overreaction Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. My name is Joe Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, alongside my co-host for this episode, former Buffalo Rumblings co-conspirator back in the day. Not that back in the day was very long ago, just a year ago. Excited to have Anthony Marino here with me for this episode. You can find him on Twitter at Anth Marino, A-N-T-H Marino. Please do us a favor. Please like. Please subscribe, whatever platform you are consuming this production on right now, whether it's live with us on YouTube or in post as a podcast on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day you listen to this. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, do all the things, leave a comment, tell a friend, all that good stuff. But as preseason games go, we had one here in Buffalo this weekend that actually had some fun moments in it, Anthony, and some scary moments. James Cook doubles down and sits out this preseason game standing on his business, while the backups, in my opinion, Taron Johnson and Frank Gore Jr. kind of showed out a little bit. We got an extra point from Ray Davis, and Taron Johnson going 1,000 miles an hour with his hair on fire, tackling dudes with his head in the preseason. Not great. Anyways, Anthony Marino, my friend, it's good to have you. How are you feeling after this game?
You know what, Joe? It is great to be with you. As we were saying before we came on live, the most important thing, no major injuries of concern that took place during that first preseason game. So, you know what, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, anytime you can escape with nothing crazy as far as that goes. I thought I saw somebody welcome you in the comment section. I was going to pull that. Is Anthony related to Joe Marino? Scott Blakely asks. No, he is not. I don't think. No?
No, I'm not. We get that one a lot, and Joe jokes that I'm like his uncle or something along those lines because I'm a little bit older than Joe, which is fine. But no, we are not related. Although depending on which Buffalo Bills circles I'm in, maybe we'll tell people that we are here and there. So.
That's funny. But yes, you were correct. Sorry for the sidebar there. No major injuries necessarily. Taron Johnson, I don't think we've heard yet. Is it a neck stinger? I know he was in concussion protocol, or at least was in evaluation. He was fine. More importantly, let's back up a little bit before we talk about this game for a couple minutes here. In this episode, Anthony and I, this is our first, which we recognized before the show again coming on live. This is the first time you and I have been on anything together, right? We were like podcast mates for a long time, but actually have never done this together.
I know. And I was racking my brain because I'm thinking to myself, gosh, over all these years, there must have been a time that we had done something together. And we've done the different collaboration with
Marino,
with Joe Marino each year, right? The
your
10
brother.
Important bills for the future of the franchise. We did a podcast with Joe years ago. I think it was the two of us, Joe, maybe Greg Thompson, and we were going through different pieces. We had a fun exchange around Rex Ryan and his press conference, how I was on a plane for work. And my big thing was I paid for the Wi-Fi so we could watch the Rex Ryan introductory press conference on the plane. So, not one of those things that I do very often, but of course, I could not miss that. So I think that's one of the last times that we were actually on a show live together.
Yeah, which is interesting. But you are here. So for those that missed the tweet that went out this week, Anthony Marino, for everybody that's listening and watching right now, is now a member of the Overreaction crew, the Overreaction staff. Anthony's going to be doing a show for us on Saturdays. Do you want to talk it's called The Walkthrough. Do you want to talk about your show real quick, what it's going to be, what it's going to be about, when it's going to drop, all that good stuff?
Yeah, and first and foremost, thank you to you and to John and Jerry for having me join the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be a part of what you're building here. Honestly, I was humbled when you reached out and passed along the invite. So thank you for that. But yeah, Saturday mornings, we're calling it The Walkthrough. And honestly, it's like Saturday morning is always, for me, that time where I love to kind of absorb content. I sit down with a cup of coffee, love to catch up on everything with the Bills. Obviously, we'll be getting ready for that week's matchup each and every show. So that's what I'll be doing with all of you, right? We'll be on here. I'll have a cup of coffee with me, and we'll just kind of catch up with what's taking place throughout the week, but more importantly, what I'm looking forward to in that game. And we'll be able to do it together and have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, super solid content. We're very excited to have you on board. We're excited to have this program that you're actually going to be bringing to us. the opportunity, as you said, for people on Saturday looking for coffee, or even on Sunday before the game, looking for the kind of that last little bit of juice that they need before the games are played. So welcome. It's good to have you. But for all intents and purposes, let's talk about this game that was in some sort of not excited fashion, but not discouraged fashion either. It's always weird to me when preseason games happen and people, Bills Mafia, not only Bills Mafia, fans around the country that are even of other teams somewhat lose their minds, right? Whether it's Shedeur Sanders having a decent game and everybody's now crowning him as like the greatest thing since sliced bread, to whatever, happens where it doesn't go necessarily well and like the world is burning and, life is completely over. This football game, so I guess we should probably start there. When you take in a preseason football game, especially now with the Bills 5 times AFC Eastern Division champions, this isn't the drought days, and it's not necessarily the Super Bowl days either, even though it's similar. When you take in a preseason game, what are you looking for typically?
Typically, I'm looking for no injuries, as we touched base on before, but I'm looking to see the rookies, right? I mean, that's really your first chance to look at these guys, see them in a Bills uniform, and just, does the moment look too big for them? And not that it's the type of situation where you're judging who they may or may not be based on a preseason performance. But, if you see a flash from a rookie in a preseason game, you're feeling some sense of validation, right? Of like, oh, I've liked this guy. I liked what I've seen in training camp, right? Like what more can we expect from him? So, I'm sure we'll talk about some of the specifics as it relates to, the game on Saturday. But to me, that's the thing that I look at the most, because here these new, shiny toys that you have is part to, to play with here and to see what they can do in a Bills uniform.
Yeah, and right on cue, Connor, and I can't, Santonosito? I can't pronounce that. Connor, I'm sorry, I don't mean to butcher your name, but he comes in perfect timing. The Bills didn't get any sacks. The defense is going to be even worse. Fire McDermott already, and he's obviously being facetious and being fun and silly. But this is a great place to start. When you watch kind of like the defensive line, for me, this defensive line, I've been hypercritical about. Not necessarily the defensive line and not necessarily people that are tuning into the show. And I know that you listen, Anthony, and have listened in the past, not necessarily the personnel or who we've had. I wasn't critical of Von Miller or Ed Oliver. It was more the philosophy and the rotation. Sean McDermott said a couple weeks ago in one of the pressers before camp, actually, I think it was Bobby Babich that said it, that, the way that we rotate, affirming that they're going to rotate like that again. But even when you look at the guys that are on this team now and what we saw from the weekend, first of all, the starters played way too long in this football game, in my opinion. Like, get those guys out of there already. They played one series great. I don't know that they needed to play as long as they did into the first quarter. But you got this game, you got what you expected from Daquan Jones, from Ed Oliver. We saw a little bit of depth as far as who was going to kind of be in second and third strings, but Deion Walker looked like King Kong swatting helicopters out of the sky out there. Like, that is a big old dude, bro. Like, what were your impressions? And I want to talk about a couple other guys too, but what were your impressions of Deion?
Yeah, I mean, listen, so much going into the draft. I think we talked about the one technique position, and not that he's naturally a one tech, right? So I'm not saying that that's the position that he's always going to play, but he's that big body, right? You've lacked that monster. You've got an undersized Ed Oliver. Dwayne Carter's undersized. Like, now you got someone more that like looks like a defensive tackle. And I will admit, when the Bills took him in the 4th round of this year's draft, I was a little bit disappointed, right? Because I was always looking at things saying, you got to address DN, D tackle, cornerback, and wide receiver. So to me, you got to that point and it was just, all right, well, I guess you go with another defensive tackle. Now, then once you start to learn a little bit more, you hear about the injuries he battled through, the player he was in 2023, okay, there might be something a little bit more here. So to my point earlier, you get to see one of these rookies for the first time and he flashes, right, with his size and that length that he has to bat down passes at the line of scrimmage. That's something you don't see from Ed Oliver. You don't really see that from Daquan Jones, right? You see it from Greg Rousseau. You see it from your ends, but to get that in the middle of your defensive line, I was happy to see that.
Yeah, and he's been doing it in camp too. And it's weird because like when you watch, Michael Hoyt had a great football game, right? I felt like he did really was just had a lot of energy, and it's going to be unfortunately we're not going to see him until week 7 as far as that goes. Watching the players play and watching this game, Dwayne Carter just puts me in a little bit of a I don't know where he fits. Are you getting the feeling that like Dwayne Carter is kind of like super nice guy, great football player, had an okay rookie season last year, right? We picked him third. Was it number 3? He was our third pick out of Kentucky, correct?
Yeah.
Or is it Duke? Duke out of Duke. But when you look at what the moves that they've made, the guys that they brought in, TJ Sanders, obviously, Ogunjobi coming in and replacing some of the other dudes, Jordan Phillips and some of the guys, Austin Johnson, that aren't here anymore. I'm concerned about him. And there's one other guy that I'm a little bit concerned about too, which is it's going to be, I don't want to say a hot take, but people are going to be like, what? Why are you concerned about him? Just because he's a rookie. But when you look at this defensive line from what you saw on Saturday, where are you landing? I guess is the easiest way to ask that question.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some difficult decisions that have to be made. And I think Carter is one of them. And not saying that I think as a 3rd round draft pick that it's something that he's going to be off the roster, but he might find himself wearing a sweatsuit on Sundays, as an inactive player. And I don't want to jump ahead, but I mean, there's a rookie defensive end that might find himself in a similar situation early on, based on that too. But, that's me saying I'm not going to overreact to the preseason. So, but there are a lot of bodies along that defensive line. And, you're only playing 4 of them at a time. That's one thing you want to keep them fresh and you're going to rotate. But I'm still guessing you're going to play Gregory Rousseau 75% of snaps, and you're going to play Ed Oliver 70% of snaps, or at least you hope to. And, when those 2 guys take on a majority, and then you've got a lot of other bodies in there and a couple of rookies that, you made an investment in, I am curious to see what that rotation is going to look like. But to your point, Michael Hoyt, Larry Ogunjobi, you've got those 2 guys, right? Now you're in a situation where you can test some things out for those first 6 weeks. So that might not be the worst thing as you give guys a chance to see who can produce. Yeah,
I don't know that. So the one that the borderline hot take for me was Landon Jackson, and you inferred, you had an inference there of that defensive end that might be wearing a sweatsuit on Sundays. I mean, a projected 1st, 2nd round draft pick. We got him in the 3rd round. I know he's got the body type, and I know that some of the measurables are there. There's just a lot of chaos in his fluidity. He's not super refined. And I'm not saying that a player has to be super refined. I mean, when you look at some guys that play football, they're not exactly fleet of foot. They walk funny, but they get the job done. I have concerns just about if his game translates to the NFL. And you can absolutely tell me that I'm wrong. Jerry and John would be, if they were on the show, they would tell me it's way too early. And it probably is. It just, when I watch him play in practice, when I watch his game film from college, when I watch him just even in this football game, it's a little erratic for me.
Yeah. And I think for what you've seen so far, for the reports from training camp, it's okay to be feeling the way that you are, but it is too early. I mean, that's easy enough to say. And I think there's enough examples. The Bills, I feel, have done a good job of having guys that are 1 year away, right? Like Terrell Bernard, I think, is a great example, right? I mean, when he was drafted, people were shaking their heads, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, he basically does nothing his rookie season, and then he comes back in year 2 and he's able to flash and show that he's someone that can really produce. Khalil Shakir, another player like that. I mean, I'll admit, I thought after his first season, if he was a camp cut, no big deal, just another guy like that kind of plays in the slot, someone that you can replace. Of course, could not have been more wrong there. So there's been other guys that haven't delivered in year 2, right? And I don't need to go through the negatives, but there's been enough that, even AJ Epinesa, I mean, he was a guy that was inactive week 1 after being drafted. What was it, in 2020, right? The first pick the Bills made because they traded away pick 22 for Stephon Diggs. Yep. And all of a sudden it's like, good gosh, this guy can't even get a jersey on game day. And I'm not saying AJ Epinesa has turned into something where you're, like throwing flowers at him or anything along those lines, but he earned a second contract. He's a contributor. He gets his 6.5 sacks each season. He does some things for you. So I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, and I'm
Yeah.
also trying to set the expectations with someone like Jackson because he's a third-round pick for a reason. Mock drafts are one thing, but he went in the third round, and in that type of situation, you hope he's someone that could eventually be a starter and a contributor.
Yeah, you mentioned Khalil Shakir, and I was one of the ones that had him as a potential that training camp in his second year. I had said it to Marino. I was standing next to Joe Marino at training camp at the top of the bleachers, and I said, I think there's a chance that Khalil Shakir gets cut. And they were like, and you think about the guys that we had like his second season, and people like they were all calling me absolutely crazy, but he had 10 catches his rookie year, and it wasn't like he did anything that was like over. And people were losing their minds. Bills fans were like, "Oh my God!" Like Khalil Shakir. If you remember that offseason, people were like, "Oh, we've got the next Stephon Diggs on the team already," and it's like, wait a second, can we slow down a half a second? And sure enough, I mean, he is a perfect example. Has panned out. Like you can get an opinion of a guy way too early. Which could be the situation or the sentiment here with Landon Jackson for me. I'm just a little concerned. But getting into the stats from this football game, as everybody listening probably knows, the Giants won this football game 34-25, which had some fun in it, right? And we'll get an opportunity to talk about running backs. I'd like to talk about quarterbacks real quick with you. And then potentially just some other stuff too. But total yards in this football game, the Giants had 396 to the Buffalo Bills 389. Passing yards 317, 331. Rushing yards 79 to the Bills 58. Yards per play 5.2 to 7.1 for the Bills. And then when you look at individual player statistics for the Buffalo Bills, what do we got? Shane Buechele actually led the way from a completion percentage standpoint, 10 of 12 for 91 yards. Mitch Trubisky, 9 of 13 for 138 yards. And then Mike White, 8 of 13 for 112. And then Trubisky had 1 touchdown, and Mike White had 2. Ty Johnson led the way rushing, 3 carries for 26 yards, 8.7 yards. He's in midseason form. Ty Johnson, he looked good. They had a ton of energy. Frank Gore, I thought, looked really, really good. 5 carries for 21 yards. Ray Davis, 4 carries for 7 yards. He did not have the best day, in my opinion. And then from a receiving standpoint, Terrell Shavers, 2 had the big long catch, 70 yards, 2 receptions, 70 yards, 35-yard average. Frank Gore had 5 for 50. KG Hamler, there's a bunch of guys. They targeted, oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 guys all had at least 1 reception. If you were eligible to catch a pass, you caught one. Basically in this football game, which was pretty incredible. Thoughts on the the backup quarterback situation. Last week on the beat, I had Dan Fates on, and I texted Dan like in the middle of the game. We were in the M&T suite, which is right above the press box, and I was like, "Hey Dan, sitting above you." We were talking last week on the beat just about Trubisky versus Mike White. And the overarching sentiment from both of us was just this feeling that Trubisky just does, yes, he's mobile and he can hit checkdowns, but he doesn't take the chances with the football. He doesn't attack the field with the football. Now, we didn't say this, but this is kind of where we were going. Whereas Mike White has a little more of that attack the football kind of feel to him. Then we went to, and we both, sorry to wrap that up, we both kind of got the impression that if the Bills had to go one way or the other, maybe you go with the little less safe candidate in Mike White, knowing that he is going to press the field versus Mitch Trubisky, which I think all of us have doubts as to whether or not if Josh Allen was hurt for 4 games that he could win 2 of them, right? Dan and I were kind of aligned on that. And then we went to training camp on Wednesday, and he did not have a good day, Mike White. And then effectively this game starts out, and when Mike White comes in, and he is just missing dudes, just like he was on Wednesday. And then, sure enough, he comes back and actually leads that touchdown drive, and then gets the 2-point conversion, I think, to Laviska Shenault. And that's when I texted Dan, and I was like, actually, I texted him first when he was not playing well, and I was like, we really missed on this. And Dan responded, yes, we did. And then he had the touchdown drive and the 2-point conversion, and I sent him a gift that was basically just somebody going, well, okay then. Like, but Mike White is showing up in this football game. Real quick, where are you at on this? I know the Bills saved some money, I think, if you cut Trubisky. Mike White at this point, I feel, seems a little risky. I think Shane Buechele makes this team, like on the practice squad. I think he's a practice squad guy.
Well, first off, Dan gave you a nice shout out on the Buffalo Plus postgame show, talking about that text exchange. that you guys had. So
I missed. I haven't had a chance to catch up yet. So I missed that.
So he gave you a shout out there, which was great. Along those same lines, I'm in the other camp than you are, and I think not that I'm personally in this camp, but I think the Sean McDermott camp, and he's going to look at it and say, okay, if Josh is going to be out for a game or two, knock on wood, heaven forbid that happens.
Heaven forbid.
Right? He's going to look to go for the safer option. Mitch Trubisky, the checkdowns. Let's play it safe. Don't put the ball in harm's way. Right. Yes, can you make some plays with your feet? Can you get out of the pocket if necessary, if things start to break down? And can you basically just keep us in a game? Right? I could see McDermott being like, not looking to push things down the field, looking at it and saying, we are going to, line up 6 offensive linemen and as many tight ends as we have, and we're going to look to ram the ball down your throat as much as we can. So I'm not saying it would be my pick of the two. I do think Mike White gets a little bit of a shine because of what he did when he first came into the league for the Jets, where he kind of took the league by storm for a couple of weeks and was putting up some big numbers
until Matt Milano cut him in half.
But if I were a betting man opening the FanDuel account, I would have Mitch Trubisky being that guy.
I think what's interesting about what you said, and you're right, McDermott is going to want to probably go the safe route. But the defense is going to have to play better than they played last year. They're going to have to basically play the tight. The bend and not break defense is going to have to. I mean, I'm trying to figure out, you're going to have to even the idea of keeping teams to field goals. If Mitch Trubisky is your quarterback, I don't know that you're in a situation where you're scoring 14 points with Mitch Trubisky as your quarterback, right?
Listen, it's
putting you on the spot.
I'd like to say you can score more than 14 points. I mean, Joe, we have seen horrible teams with backup quarterbacks put up points in the NFL, right? So I have some faith in Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator and what he could do, that it's listen, if it was a game or two, let's see what happens, right? I mean, we saw, what's his name? Skylar Thompson, 27 points on the Bills in the playoffs. I mean, that's, anything's possible.
It's funny because it seems like what a lot of teams do anymore too is they have a backup on the team that isn't necessarily the backup that they want to play if tragedy were to strike. So tragedy strikes and then they go get a guy to bring in to effectively play quarterback, in the meantime. So the overarching prayer and hope and kiss the rosaries or count through, I'm not Catholic, whatever you have to do with your rosary is to effectively make sure that Josh Allen does not get hurt. But it is going to be an interesting fight down the stretch between those two guys, just because there's an aspect of one of them isn't going to be on this football team, and who's it going to be? Can they save some money by cutting Trubisky and keeping Mike White? Do they feel more safe, to your point, with Mitch Trubisky versus Mike White? So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing rolls out. Running back James Cook goes into coach's office and basically says, yo, bro, I'm paraphrasing, not playing in this football game. I'll warm up, but I'm not going to play in this football game. I don't know where I fall on that, Anthony.
Here's the thing that I find interesting with it. And for anybody that follows me on social media, I mean, I'm a running back guy. I want to see James Cook on this team. I think he deserves a contract extension. And I know there's some good friends of ours that are in the never give a running back an extension ever, even if he's Barry White 2.0 or Barry Sanders 2.0. Not Barry White.
Let's get it on. Let's get it on, Anth.
But, with this, I was very curious that Sean McDermott was open as he was in the press conference. He said it was a positive conversation. He gave details of what the conversation was, but Sean is usually pretty close to the vest, right? He's not going to put any business out there. And when he said we wanted him to play and he did not want to, again, he did not communicate this as if it was a problem. So that part, it's okay, the tone, his demeanor, everything along those lines, you say it was a positive conversation, that's fine. But when you put that out there, it's a little bit hey, he was in uniform. I wanted him out there. He didn't want to play. And aside from anything, there is the part of you that it's okay, it's one thing, you're standing on business and everything that goes with that, but now you're not out there with your teammates. And that part's a little bit different, at least in my opinion, when you talk about getting into that locker room and what it is. And I guess my last piece, I'll be curious to get your take, is just I feel like James Cook might be getting some bad advice here, because I almost get the sense that he wants to be out there. And maybe I'm just, being a little bit optimistic, but I just feel like whether it's his agent or someone that's just in his ear,
brother,
I don't know if this is the way to get this done. I don't know that this is going to have the happy ending that you're looking for. And I just don't know if you're really kind of handling this correctly.
It's a super weird position to be in. I think I brought it up last week on one of the shows. I don't remember which one or the week before. He's sitting around and he's watching all these other 3-year guys get new contracts, right? Josh Allen got redone before his final season of his rookie deal was done. So he's sitting around watching this happen, and it's kind of and I think they were in negotiations with him. They were trying to get him done. You look at his brother Dalvin, and Dalvin didn't handle his contract situation real well. And this is always the weird thing about running backs. And everybody, Saquon Barkley is the exception to the rule. The guy that is elite with the New York Giants signs a $20 million a year contract, goes to the Eagles, and is arguably the best player in the NFL.
Joe, the $20 million contract is brand new.
Oh, that's right.
The contract he signed with the Eagles was like maybe 12.
Yeah, it was 12, right? But even still, you're right. Correct. My point is, though, normally running backs like Dalvin sign a big deal, go to another team, and then vanish, just like Dalvin did, right? And I feel like when you look at the tweets that he's been putting out over the course of the last year, pay my brother, get that money. I think he was the one that started the 15 million thing. I think it came from him first, and then James was kind of posting it as well. I just don't even know where he thinks he fits. And then you look at the situation with Kyron Williams signing last week, signing his new deal. And James fits right in that spot. Kyron is actually on the field, 75% of the snaps? James Cook, 42% of the snaps. I know James Cook wants to be on the field for third down, but they trust Ty Johnson. Josh Allen said Ty Johnson is the best third down back in the league, which we saw Ty Johnson run like his hair was on fire in that game on Saturday. This seems to me, Anthony, to be a situation of put your head down and go to work and do it again, right?
And Jerry had said it on one of the shows earlier. He's like, the best opportunity you have to show your value is to be out there on the field. And listen, right, it's one thing for you or I to say that, or somebody in the media. Like, Jerry's played the game. Like, Jerry's been in the locker room. He understands. I mean, John said the same thing. Like, whoever we're blocking for, we're blocking. Like,
that's right.
We're going out there and doing what it is that we're supposed to do, whether it's Thurman Thomas, Kenneth Davis, James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, you name it. Like, we're just going out there and doing the work, and they're expecting the guy behind them to do what they're supposed to do. And, I said this last week, like, if I'm James Cook, like, listen, it's your decision. That's totally fine with what you want to do. But if you're trying to prove that you're invaluable, not being on the field and giving these other guys an opportunity to get those reps and get a chance to show, like, hey, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's going to lead to what you want, because they're two pretty capable options that are behind you. I'm not saying they're as talented as James Cook, not in any way. But if you give them a chance, you string together enough good days. If I'm Brandon Beane or Sean McDermott, I might look at it and say, hey, that James Cook money can go to, Connor McGovern or David Edwards or just whatever free agent we want to sign next year.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange situation to be in when you're giving opportunity to the guys behind you that are actually pretty good, right? And you don't want to be in a situation where you're saying the words or giving the sentiment that James is losing value to this team. But Ty Johnson looked good on that, and they didn't play him as much as they played Ray Davis. Ray Davis was in the game more, and then Frank Gore was. I mean, it was against the backups, but there's a pedigree there. I know he's undersized. You just feel like we're approaching plug and play mode. And James is a special talent, and I'm not trying to diminish his talent or who he is as a player, but at some point in time, I feel like Jerry says it all the time. The Bills have all the leverage. He has no leverage. He has 1 year left in his contract. If you want to make $15 million a year, go do the same thing you did last year. And if the Bills don't give it to you, somebody's gonna. You know what I mean? Like, somebody's going to give it to you, but you are not in the echelon of Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley at this point. You're just not.
And I'm all about these guys getting paid, right? So it's like, I realize you can look at the salary cap, and there's the salary cap isn't real type of truthers that are out there. Like, I know that money comes up at some point, but it's like, yeah, I want you to get paid. I want you to feel good about what you're doing and feel that you're, wanted and appreciated and all those types of things. And I think Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott and Josh Allen and everyone that's had an opportunity to, answer a question about it with the press has said all of the right things. So I'm hopeful that it's just a matter of time. And who knows, maybe by the time folks are listening to this, he's already inked a new contract. At least I hope so.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, we want to see it get done, right? I don't want to see it. Yeah, we want to see it. Whether you follow the space of the cap, the salary cap is a hard, fast prison cell that you have to live inside of, or the salary cap is completely fake. At the end of the day, we want to see it get done. I don't want to see it get done at the expense of some other great players that we want to keep around. But it's the team is better with James Cook on it. You just got to wonder if John and Jerry would probably answer this better. Like, is he hurting the team right now by not being here? Probably not, right?
No, probably not. I mean, and listen, I understand what Sean McDermott's saying too, of you want him practicing, you want him to get those reps. Like, you don't do training camp, just to get in front of the fans and take pictures and sign autographs and those things. Like, there's real work that's being put in and getting yourself ready for the season. So, and of course McDermott, he's got to say that. Like, you want everybody practicing. So, and that,
to James's credit, he's probably in that space too. Like, I'm ready for the season. Like, right. I mean, I did a couple weeks of training camp. I'm good to go. Like, I'm ready. I'm ready, coach. I know I'm ready. Like, so let's not put me in a situation standing on my business where I'm going to get potentially hurt in camp or in preseason or in practice or something like that until this thing gets done, or we know at least what the future is going to hold as far as that goes. We'll see what happens. I'm super interested and excited to get him done and get him in here back full time with this football team. Terrell Shavers, camp darling, is he going to make this team? Is he going to be the 6th wide receiver? I feel like the Bills are going to keep 5 wide receivers this year, which people are down on Elijah Moore. Is that bizarre to you?
It's not bizarre to me because people were expecting Elijah Moore to make the Pro Bowl this year, at least from my Twitter feed early on, and a couple of pieces I wrote for Rumblings.
But Mitch and Mike White are throwing him the football in this football. Did Mitch look at him? Like, where I was sitting, I couldn't tell. Like, did he even get? Sorry, go ahead.
No, but the only thing I was going to say to that, right? Preseason games I put over here.
Yes.
It's just, I'm not at training camp every day, but a lot of people that we follow and know and appreciate the work that they do. There hasn't been a whole lot around Elijah Moore at training camp. And the expectations felt so high after they signed him. I mean, I ran a poll in one of my Rumblings articles that you talked about. It was like 80% of readers were expecting him to exceed what he did last season, which was like 60 receptions and over 600 yards. Like, okay, that's a lot on a team that has an everybody eats kind of mantra. Like,
right.
That puts him, kind of right up there behind Khalil Shakir.
Right.
So I felt like the expectations were a little bit crazy. I don't know that he's in danger of being cut. There's been a lot of conversation. When I say conversation, I mean like people just floating concepts out there. Do you trade Curtis Samuel and a 5th round pick for a 7th round pick?
Right.
In essence, like, you're taking a loss just to get those dollars off the books so you can use them for something else because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. That, Sal Capaccio was talking about that. And I don't say that meaning Sal's making a prediction or anything along those lines, but he was on with Matt Beauvais, and it's like, okay, it's not just somebody in your mentions throwing out a trade idea that this is off the wall. Let's see what had happened. Like, when 2 guys like that are chatting about it, it's like, maybe it's not that crazy.
It feels like there's no way Curtis Samuel gets traded. That, like, with his salary cap number, as far as what he's getting paid this year, the dude cannot stay healthy. I had I don't know why we're talking hot takes in this episode. I went on the Shout podcast live from Wingnuts a couple years back when we first made the signing of Curtis Samuel, and I said live on the air that I felt like it just gave me Jamison Crowder vibes, right? Just in essence of like a guy that's got all the talent in the world and just can't stay on the field, can't stay healthy. And Matt Perino lost his mind. Matt was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said it. But here we are, right? I don't know that I mean, when he's on the field, it's great. If he's not being, hampered by turf toe, but get him on I cannot see him getting traded. I can't see anybody. To me, you're lighting dollars on fire. If a team trades for him, they've got to be down to nobody in the wide receiver room.
Well, and going back to your initial question on Shavers,
Yeah.
I think Shavers should make the team based on his performance,
Yeah.
but it's because of what he brings on special teams, right? And Curtis Samuel does not.
Right.
And that is going to be a piece where it's like, okay, I can help you on offense and I can definitely help you on special teams. But at the end of the day, too, I hope that Keon Coleman and Josh Palmer and Khalil Shakir are taking like 75% of the snaps each and playing as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And what we get from Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel is a bit of a bonus.
I'm excited to see the rest of this preseason and Laviska Shenault. I thought he played an okay game in that football game on Saturday. Like when the Bills needed him, he was there. That 2-point conversion. He had a couple punt returns, right? Which is not necessarily something he is used to doing. I'm not saying the Bills are going to have a problem. They kept 5 last year. Could they keep 6 this year? Special teamers, things like that. But there's going to be some dudes that might end up not having jobs or might end up on this practice squad. I mean, where does Laviska Shenault go? Like if he gets cut, does he make it back to the Bills practice squad? Man, what a fall, right? First round draft pick, like out of 2 teams, now then potentially out of 3 teams, and then being asked to come back to a practice squad. You'd think he'd catch on somewhere. I don't even know.
I don't know though. I think his guarantee in his contract was like $25,000. So I don't know if he gets cut, I think the practice squad might be a realistic option. But you know what? You never know. When it comes to a core special teamer, they had him doing pretty much everything.
Right, right.
And listen, that guy that is primarily your returner, we saw it last year with Codrington. Like, he's not someone that you're looking at and saying he's going to play any snaps on defense for you. Right. It's almost like your return specialist is just a position in its own. And what meeting room are you going to sit in? So he could be the 6th wide receiver, maybe the 7th. Who knows?
Yeah. So getting back to Shavers. So you were not on the Shavers as just the camp darling for 2025 train. You feel like this guy's got a legit shot to make it.
Yeah, I think he's shown too much over camp last year, over camp this year. If you think you're going to sneak him onto the practice squad, I do not think it happens this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is the year for him where he's all in or he's all out, right? Meaning that he's on this football team where he's going to be in wearing different colors, wearing a different jersey for the rest of the season. I guess he wouldn't be able to go to a practice squad. He would be, if the Bills cut him, he'd be picked up and have to be put on the 53, right? It's also going to come down to IR. So who are the Bills going to be putting on IR to start the season? To make spots for folks. Obviously, they've got 2 roster spots in Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt. But yeah, we have not done a roster prediction show yet. We might have to do one on one of these Sundays and involve you, like include you. So me, John, and Jerry, and you do a quick roster prediction because we've not done one yet. So it's coming, right?
Just let me know.
Yeah, just let you know. Anthony, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Overreaction Buffalo post-game show, as we've now done our first one for the entire season. John and Jerry, by the way, I probably should hit this at the top of the hour. John and Jerry are at the Kelly Gala tonight, so they are unavailable. So they're having fun and hanging out with a whole bunch of other former NFL players. I've been to it the last 3 years. This is the first time in 3 years I haven't been able to go. I had a family reunion earlier today, so I couldn't go. But that's all right, because now I get to sit here and basically introduce you to the Overreaction world. So excited to have you again here with us.
No, it's great to be on the team, and sorry to disappoint everybody that was hoping to see John and Jerry tonight too. So
they were just hoping you were better looking, but hey. It's in that Marino blood. They've all looked at Joe Marino. No, I'm just kidding. The bizarre thing about Joe Marino is there's another Joe Marino that covers Sabres hockey.
Yes, which is bizarre, to say the least.
What is happening?
No idea.
And then there's a Marissa Marino that does content creation for the Dolphins, I think, right? And then obviously the illustrious Dan Marino. But what do we got coming up this week? So this week, tomorrow, Off Tackle with John Fina show. I believe Jerry is going to be sitting in for me tomorrow with John. And then Tuesday, On the Beat, Ryan Talbot from Syracuse.com is going to be joining me for On the Beat. Wednesday, the Big O Show. I'm not exactly sure what he's going to be doing for that episode. I don't know if it's going to be a preview for the preseason or if he's going to be doing something else. Last week, he had Greg Thompson on. They were talking contracts. If you have not caught that episode, you want to do it. And then you start this week, right?
Ready to go. Saturday morning. And I apparently need to make some graphics for you. I got to build your show graphics because I have not done that yet. But awesome. Good stuff. Appreciate you being here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the Overreaction Buffalo postgame show on the Overreaction Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. So good to have every single one of you join us. The Buffalo Bills 0-1 in preseason. It's just a preseason game, folks.
calm down, chill out. It's not a big deal. Just stay healthy. That's all we need to have happen. Just as Anthony said, just stay healthy. But for me, for John, for Jerry, and now Anthony Marino, we appreciate you guys. We love you. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.